Kimberly Turner from cookingwithkimberly.com, and today I'm going to show you a fantastic holiday recipe for gluten and nut-free Tiger Nuts gingerbread cookies. These are going to be amazing. Now, if you've never heard of tiger nuts before, they are not nuts at all. What they are little tubers that grow under the ground. They grow like potatoes or carrots or beets, anything like that. And this is what they look like. They look like little wrinkly chickpeas, okay? Or nasturtium nodes, like I say. Now, these are vegetarian, they're vegan, organic, non-GMO. They have a resistant starch, which is great for weight loss. They are paleo diet, whole 30, raw food diet friendly. They're nut-free, gluten-free, cholesterol, and dairy-free, and they're a fantastic addition to your repertoire. Now, the flour that I'm using today is Tiger Nuts flour. This is their organic Tiger Nuts flour from tigernutsusa.com. This is amazing stuff. Not only that, all of their products are amazing. Check them out online and check out our review on this flour because it really is versatile. You can use it for sweet and savory dishes. Now this is what the flour looks like. It's just those little tiger nuts ground up, milled and ground up into a light fine flour, right? Beautiful. The flavor has a slight coconutty flavor, and again, it's great for sweet and savory dishes, and today we're going to be doing a gingerbread. Now this is a classic recipe that many recipes call for, obviously, a glutinous flour and nuts, ground nuts in them, almonds or something like that. So today we're not doing that. They're nut-free and gluten-free, and this is a great way to cater to people who have dietary restrictions over the holidays. I have a medium-sized saucepan on my stove top on medium heat, and we're going to start by combining a couple of ingredients to make sure that everything gets evenly combined. 1/4 cup of softened butter. You could use coconut oil here if you wanted to and substitute that butter half and half, and if you want to be adventurous, go ahead and do the whole amount in coconut oil. 1 cup of brown sugar goes in, packed. A 1/2 cup of fancy or dark molasses. I'm using a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. I'm using a 1/2 cup of homemade applesauce. Now stir to combine all of that. You want to make sure that that butter is all melted through, all of those ingredients are evenly combined, that sugar is nice and dissolved in there, and you want to bring that up to a simmer and let that go for, I don't know, roughly 5 minutes or so. Oh, it smells amazing in here already. These are all those holiday flavors that you crave and that comforts you during Christmas and Thanksgiving. Now, this I'm gonna let sit for a little while. It needs to come down to a lukewarm temperature. So let that just sit there, right there. Looks good. Full of all those yummy things. Just make sure that that sugar is well dissolved, okay? In the meantime, I'm going to combine my dry ingredients just so that they're prepared. I have 3½ cups of Tiger Nuts flours. Now you can sift that if you want to. Just make sure there's no lumps or clumps, okay? I have 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and a dash of cayenne I added to that. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. I'm going to combine my ginger now. Now you could use dried ginger and I would probably use a teaspoon of it, the ground kind. But what I've done is I've finely grated it. This is what I've got here. And I have 1 teaspoon of fresh, finely grated ginger. I'm gonna combine that with my dry ingredients. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And just stir that through so everything is evenly combined. So this has come down in temperature to room temperature basically, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my liquid here in the mixer. You could always do this by hand if you really wanted to. In a great big bowl. Make sure you get everything out of there. To this I'm going to add an egg. I'm just going to mix that to combine it first. Perfect. Now I'm going to start adding flour about a cup at a time till it's just combined. Now scrape down the sides of the bowl if you have to. Make sure everything gets combined into the cookie dough. Now you might see that the mixture is still a little bit wet, okay? You can definitely tell that this is wet. It's almost like a thick pumpkin pie filling at this point. Now you're gonna work in anywhere between 1/2 to 1 cup of extra flour. But you don't want to add too much. So what you're going to do is slowly add this to the mixing bowl while you're mixing it, just enough so that the ball starts coming off of the sides of the bowl, okay? So the dough starts coming off the sides of the bowl. Here we go. Low speed. Add your flour, little bits at a time. Make sure you're scraping the sides of the bowl as well. All right, so now I'll show you what this looks like. This is what I have going on. You can see it just pulled off the sides there. And what we're gonna do now is put a little bench flour on your work surface. Don't work in too much if you don't have to, okay? Just a tiny bit. And we're gonna pour this dough out. Now this dough is still moist, quite moist, but it is hard enough that we're gonna be able to form a ball here and get it into the refrigerator to cool. That's gonna help solidify that butter again and the molasses. So get it all out of your bowl, scrape it off the beater. You gotta get your hands in there and get a little dirty. So get a little bit of bench flour on your hands as well. We're gonna pull this dough together. It looks gorgeous. Look at that. What I like to do also is put it in 2 balls actually, flatten them into discs. That way they cool off quicker in your refrigerator. Now, what I need you to do is cool this for at least 2-3 hours, okay? You want it to be nice and cold. You could even do this overnight. You could even store this in your refrigerator for up to a week before you decide to bake it, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. So I just pulled it together. Let me show you this nice ball. Oh, it smells heavenly in here. That's some nice dough. Okay, I'm gonna cut this into 2 pieces. Just because not only will it cool faster, but it's easier to deal with when you're trying to roll this all out, right? You can see it's still pretty moist in there. Don't worry, those tiger nuts are quite absorbent. And as they're sitting there and cooling off in the refrigerator, those tiger nuts are also going to be absorbing any of that liquid. So this is gonna be perfect. So form both of them into nice balls. And then we're gonna wrap them in some plastic wrap. Flatten that into a bit of a disc. It's going to be easier to roll out later. And cover that with plastic wrap. Okay, flatten the next one. Cover that in wrap. All right, into the refrigerator they go. And we'll see you in a few hours. All right, we're ready to go here. It's been a couple hours. I'm taking one of my discs out and leaving the other one in the fridge while I'm doing this one. I have 2 baking sheets prepared with baking mats on them, or you could use parchment, or you could grease your cookie sheets. And I'm just gonna take this guy out, use a little bit of bench flour on the counter as well as on the rolling pin. So we're gonna roll this out to about 1/4 of an inch. Work your way from the middle each time. Be careful not to really flatten out the edges more than the center. That's what a lot of people end up doing. So work your way out from the middle and choose some shapes for your cookie cutters. Tonight I'm going to use a Christmas tree. Here we go, I've got a nice big Christmas tree, and I'm going to dunk that into my bench flour first. And try your best to fit as many of them on as you can, but no worries if you don't, because we're gonna put this dough all back together, roll it back out, and continue to cut out trees. There you go. Gently ease it out. And that's a beautiful little gingerbread Christmas tree. And I'm gonna arrange them on here. Keep them about an inch, inch and a half apart at least on the baking sheet. Continue with all the rest of your dough. All right, now that I've cut almost 2 trays, I'm going to piece together those little bits, make them into a ball again, a little more bench flour, and we'll roll it out again. Get as many as you can out, don't waste it. Also, in the meantime, I'm preheating my oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Once there's not enough dough to make one more cookie, add that to the next disc when you're rolling those out. Okay, so my oven is preheating right now to 325, and I have 2 trays of cookies cut out. I have 2 by 5, so I have 10 cookies on each sheet, but it really just depends upon what shape you used and what size they are, so you're gonna have to wing that yourself. Leave at least 1.5 inches, I guess, between, okay, like I said. Now, before I put them in, I'm going to decorate them. You could use the little sprinkles. I'm using some red, green, and white sprinkles tonight, as well as some of the crystals, the green and the white I'm using, and then I've got those little silver balls for the top for the star on my trees. So, have at it. This is the time when it's fun to have the kids come in and help you. My baby is not quite big enough to help me yet. Maybe in next year or the year after she can help. When you're applying these decorations, just gently push them into the dough. Make sure you're using decorations that aren't going to melt in the oven. If you want to, you can always pipe the decorations on with an icing afterwards if you want. I'll do 1 tray with the crystals to keep that all in 1 tray because they can kind of fall off there and make a mess. And I'll use 1 tray for the sprinkles. But be as creative as you like or not. You can always just make these with nothing on them. They would be absolutely tasty and beautiful nonetheless. Well, let me show you how pretty they are. There you go. Aren't they lovely? I have 2 trays ready to go. There you go, green and white ones. And we're gonna bake 1 tray at a time on the middle rack. This is gonna take about 15 minutes. I would start looking around 12. You don't want them to be totally browned and burnt on top, okay? You want them to be firm, however. So I'm thinking about 15 minutes. I'll show you what I'm looking for when it gets to that stage, all right? In they go. In the meantime, keep rolling out the rest of your dough. All right, these are done. They're slightly browning on the edges, and that's exactly what I want. 15 minutes is just perfect. Next tray in. So leave these guys on the cookie sheets for 3 minutes before you remove them to a cooling rack to completely cool. These cookies have all cooled, and I have them in these beautiful rows. Now I can pack them up and give them away as gifts, or serve them for dessert or snacks, or we can hang them on a tree, whatever it is you like. Also, don't forget to leave some out for Santa. Looks like he could use some gluten-free gingerbreads. Anyway, let's taste these guys. Mom, would you like one?
Oh, I'd love one.
Bring you one.
Have it with my tea.
So the little green sprinkles and the clear sprinkles, that looks like snow, and these guys look like little balls on my Christmas trees. What do you think, Mom?
They're really good.
Yeah?
Tasty. I love gingerbread.
That is tasty. They're crunchy on the outside. They're a nice dense cookie. I don't know what they look like inside. And the inside is kind of tender. That's delightful. Spicy. That fresh ginger worked wonders. And that little dash of cayenne goes a long way. These are awesome. Golly. What do you like about them, Mom?
I love all the spices in there. So good.
They were easy to cut out. They were easy to roll out. The hardest thing about the whole recipe was gauging how much flour you'd need just to pull it off the sides of the bowl. Once you get that done, you're smooth sailing. Well, that recipe made 5 trays of 10 cookies. I have 50 cookies here. Again, it just depends on what kind of cookie you're making, what size and what shape. That's all. That is delicious. Not only that, they're gluten-free, they're nut-free. There was no nuts in there. Sometimes people grind up almonds or other nuts and use that as a little bit of a meal inside of the ginger cookies. But we didn't have to do that because we had tiger nuts ground up in there. Boy, those are good. Yet another triumph for a gluten-free holiday recipe. Now you can cater to people with celiac problems or who are trying to cut gluten out of their entire diet. These are awesome, and you don't miss anything, hey Mom? You can't tell that that's not with all-purpose flour. There's no way you can tell that. They have a beautiful texture, they have a gorgeous flavor, they look beautiful. I'm sold. They're wonderful. Make sure you check out tigernutsusa.com for their flour again and all of their products, which are fabulous in the kitchen. All right, that's it. That's all. That's how you bake gluten-free, nut-free Tiger Nuts gingerbread cookies. You can do it too. Follow me on Twitter at Cooking with Kim E with a capital E. Like the fan page at facebook.com/cookingwithkimberly. Check out instagram.com/webchefofalltrades. You can find my shows online at youtube.com/cookingwithkimberly and come to my website at cookingwithkimberly.com. Subscribe and interact with us. Let us know what's going on in your culinary world, all right? Be a champion in your kitchen and eat deliciously. Bye.